Good morning, Florence. My name is Melvin Smith, and this is Ivy Meadows. For if you've been here in Florence, you already know who this is. But Ivy has something to say, but before she does, I'd like to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. To all the sisters out there, a happy Mother's Day. And to all the daughters out there, if you got any kids, happy Mother's Day. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about Roe v. Wade. We got a lot of people upset about Roe v. Wade right now. I'm one of them, but I'm not a female. So I'd like for Ivy Meadow to explain why this is so important to the American people and the Florence people. Take it away, Ivy.
Wow. Well, I'm not sure if Florence is a great slice of pie for all of America on this topic.
Well,
But the reason it matters to me is because I grew up in the era of Roe v. Wade, and so I guess the thing I want to say first is I am not anti-abortion. I am pro-choice. What I think is important about this legislation, the law that we've been under since 1973 or so, is that it gives women a choice about what to do if they find themselves in that difficult circumstance. And a lot of times, it's not just from meeting some guy at the bar and having too much fun too fast. Sometimes it's a planned pregnancy with a husband and things go wrong. And doctors advise the women to have an abortion because of the viability of the pregnancy, because of the future. And, so 50 years, there's at least 2 justices on the Supreme Court who have grown up with this, under the same law. Then that's Kavanaugh and Coney Barrett. They're young. And we're supposed to have a separation of church and state in the United States. And I was reading Clarence Thomas's profile this morning. Did you know he graduated from a Catholic college? He graduated cum laude, high honors.
I didn't know that, but I'm glad to know that.
He has a pro-life orientation from the get-go, but it comes from his religious beliefs. And here in America, we're supposed to separate our religion from our government. And I get the feeling that this court, as it's assembled now, is a religiously based court that may not consider the law because they're caught up in religious fervor.
Exactly. They're
so
dangerous.
Those 2 guys, or that man and woman, Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh, she's 50 and he's 57. So that means that he was 7 years old when Roe v. Wade passed, roughly. And she's been living this way under this for her. So they have no idea, this is my point, they have no idea of what it's going to mean to bring all these children into the world that they might, it's just not their business. I don't even know how to get started. I think they're caught up in a movement that's got to do with religious fervor, and they're not really thinking about the socioeconomic impact or the emotional impact for people who don't want that child. And it's at an interesting time in America because there's also a lot of cutting back of services for kids and families, particularly poor families and poor kids. And remember orphanages? I bet you don't. Why? Because we haven't had orphanages for quite some time in this country, probably since the Depression. That's one chapter of my feelings about Roe v. Wade, that I'm pro-choice, and I think it's awful to take away choice from people who are trying to grow up, move out of their parents' house, get away from an abusive spouse, survive a rape, all kinds of different things. The only people who want to get an abortion are people who have an unplanned pregnancy. And then there's people who have planned pregnancies, as I started to say earlier, who end up, they don't really want an abortion, but they're advised that it's medically the best outcome for that pregnancy. And there's so many more pregnancies to be had if you're a fertile young woman, particularly if you're with a fertile young man.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is, 75% of America want Roe v. Wade. 75%. You only got that 28% of 25% of the hardcore right-wing religious nuts who are not doing this because they want to save lives. What they're trying to do in this white supremacy setting is to allow to keep the white lady pregnant so they don't lose their population. That's what it looks like to me as a black man. They're trying to boost the population of the white race. They don't care about no abortion. And that's just the truth. And that's the way I see it.
Well, you raise an interesting point. I remember reading something just the other day that said the unborn is a great group of people to worry about because they can't. They're out of sight, out of mind. They're imaginary. They can't speak up. They don't cause problems. They don't need to be fed. They don't need to be clothed. They don't need to be housed. They don't need education. When they're born, then they cease to exist. The unborn no longer exist once they're born because now they're born.
Well, Republicans only care about children when they're not born. Once they're born, you don't care. You never did. And the bottom line is, we have to do something, people. People of Florence, listen to me. We need to do something because the madness has to stop.
So I have a great idea.
Shoot it to me.
Let's do a 1 million letter writing campaign to the Supreme Court. Let's get 1 million or more people to tell their stories in short, single topic, handwritten notes to the Supreme Court that say whatever their personal story is. If you write a long letter and list off all the reasons about why you want to save Roe v. Wade, it won't get read because it's too long. People don't have time. But if you write a short personal thing, when I was 15, I was raped by my father's best friend, and I got pregnant from that, and I had to have an abortion, and I've never regretted it because, or that might not be your story. You might have a different story. Maybe your dad helped your mom get an abortion at some point in life. Then you know about it. There's a lot of secrecy, and we need to get the secrets out in the open and tell the court, because if we can sway one opinion, what if we sway one opinion? What if Amy Coney Barrett says, wow, you mean there's women out there who live like this? I mean, I don't know if she even has a clue about.
No, they're in another world. They don't know how ordinary, everyday people react because they've never had to live in that.
So remember the Million Man March?
I was part of the Million Man March.
Oh, you were?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I helped organize it, and I went down there.
I think you should do an episode on that. But this is the 1 million letter writing campaign. Ago. I know, but it made a difference in the black community.
Yeah, but I think they would just pile up your letters in some duffel bag and throw them somewhere. That's what you burn them. Yeah, because they burning books already in most of the states that talk about slavery and anything that's not to their agenda.
Well, you might be right.
No, I'm pretty right. I see life because as a black man, I have traveled this country. I've talked to the people, but most importantly, I know how ordinary people react to things.
But if the Supreme Court isn't ordinary,
no, they're not.
Then they may not. They
are religious. Letters. We got 5 religious.
They may not throw all those letters away.
Well,
they may not.
It's a shot in the dark. But it's a shot. But I think we should be going all kinds of different directions at this.
Well, it's just one idea.
Yeah, this is one idea.
It's not the
We got to stand up. Florence, we need to sit down, think about this, and react before it's too late. Because we have to save the rights of this country for women. We just a small part of it, but it's very,
and it's
very
not
important.
Just for women. It's after women, then what? It's like what Pastor Niemöller said. First they came for the social Democrat or whoever they were, the socialists. I wasn't a socialist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the intellectuals. I wasn't an intellectual, so I said nothing. Then they came for the trade unionists. I wasn't a trade unionist, so I said nothing. Then they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew, so I said nothing. When they came for me, there was no one left.
Exactly.
And if this is only the beginning, after this comes, God knows who's next. Could be gay people, could be whoever they don't agree with, because they're being driven by religion, and we need to separate religion from governance.
Yeah, we do.
As the Constitution says.
Yeah. Well, after I got involved in this more after I saw George Floyd murdered. We all saw George Floyd murdered. 8 minutes we were sitting in front of our TVs, 10 minutes, screaming, "Get off his neck! Get off his neck!" We sat there. And when that bill became before Congress and the Senate, what did they do? They brushed it to the side. When the bill came for black rights, right people to vote and protect our rights to vote, what did they give us? Juneteenth. Juneteenth. They gave us Juneteenth. Black people don't care about Juneteenth. Hell, those dumb Texas people who was too stupid to realize they were free. Mississippi, Alabama, and the rest of the states already were moving on. And then they choose Texas and they celebrate Juneteenth. What does Juneteenth mean to a black person? Nothing. That's the bottom line. And I've talked to black people across this country and they all said the same thing. The hell with Juneteenth. We want you to protect our voting rights, our right to exist, our right to be acknowledged.
And look what's happening. They're cutting down voting.
Exactly.
Making it harder. They're making it less accessible. The ballot is becoming less accessible. All these states, when the court gives the states the right to legislate their own whatever, anyway. Well, listen.
Yeah. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen to me and Ivy. I want to thank my camera lady who's about to end my tape here. And I want to say, you got any last words, Ivy, to Florence?
Consider writing your personal story to the Supreme Court.
You hear that? And thank you, Florence, because I am now a part of this community, and I'm going to fight for the people of Florence. And I'm out of here.